What's up everyone, and welcome to the second episode of the Retro Remastered Games Club. This edition is all about Bioshock Infinite, and joining me to talk all about this game are Darren and Laura. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you both?
I'm well, thank you. Thanks.
Fan Dabby Does.
That's great.
I'm looking forward to an exciting episode of Games.
I'm glad, because we've got just that for you right today. It's better than Uncharted. So, just throwing that one out there.
That's not hard.
So anyway, we may as well jump straight in. And for those of you who don't know what Bioshock Infinite is, I'll just give you a little rundown of the game.
And where have you been?
Well, that as well. Where have you been? You're a disappointment. Why haven't you played Bioshock Infinite?
Sorry, why we reference Cotton Eye Joe? Did I miss the Cotton Eye Joe links in the game?
What?
What?
Where have you been? Where did you come from? Where did you go? Where did you come from? Cotton Eye Joe.
Anyway, so joining this week is just Darren. No Laura.
Yeah, alright.
Laura's been kicked off this now.
Oh.
So, Bioshock Infinite was released in 2013, and it took place to the fictional floating city called Columbia. It was part of the Bioshock series, with Bioshock 1 and 2 coming before it, but it had no real direct links to the story of the first two. And Bioshock Infinite saw Ken Levine return as the creative director. He worked on the original Bioshock, but didn't work on Bioshock 2. So, there's your little bit of knowledge about Bioshock Infinite. Now for the story. So, the story sees you play as Booker DeWitt, and he's sent to Columbia to find a girl called Elizabeth who's being held captive by Comstock, which he does successfully. It's a good thing. But the game doesn't end there though, because that means the game would finish after about an hour.
I honestly thought, oh my god, this is the best Games Club game we've ever done. And then I was like, wait.
Yeah, so go and rescue the girl. You've done that in an hour. Game over. Done.
I just thought I was really good. Generally, like.
Yeah, you weren't.
I know.
No. So basically after that, sort of the game becomes more open a bit, where Booker and Elizabeth become sort of involved with the two factions in the city, which are fighting for different things. There's one fighting for the rights of
every man,
keeping the privileges for white Americans, and there's another group which are underground rebels, and they represent sort of the underclass of the city, and they are fighting obviously against them.
Well, you should mention the year that this is set in to sort of.
Yeah, it's probably a good point, isn't it? Yeah, it's set in 1912. Yeah,
which is why there's all this racial.
Yeah, it's not just 2015.
Yeah, probably should have mentioned that. I mean, saying that, if Donald Trump gets into power, it could be 2016.
It could happen.
We don't like you bringing your political views to our nice games club, Squiggy.
Yeah, so this could be 2016 in America if Donald Trump gets his way.
All right, we got it. You're not voting Trump. You're voting Hillary. I got it.
Yeah.
And you're not actually voting at all because you're not American.
None of us are Americans, and we do not have the right to vote.
So basically, these two groups are fighting for different things, which you become involved in quite a lot in the game. We won't talk about that now. And Elizabeth, you also find out she has special powers. She can open voids to different dimensions, different universes. I don't know which one you want to call it, but
yeah, it's probably dimensions. I think.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll go with the other one. But that's really important to the story. But again, we'll talk of that a little bit later on. So this was the whistle-stop tour of Bioshock Infinite. Thanks for listening. So now we'll move on to sort of the discussion about the game. Did both of you finish it?
Yeah.
Yes.
I finished it like 3 times.
Yeah, good. I've finished it
Once.
Twice, I think.
Once.
Yeah.
This was my first time playing the games.
I'm impressed you finished it, to be honest.
I know, so was I.
Yeah.
I know. It was a pleasant surprise, and we should all feel happy.
I'm really happy for you that you finished it.
Thank you.
Because I think I was hassling you to play it quite a lot.
It is, and then as soon as we started doing Games Club, you were straight on that, like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, let's be honest, the only reason you actually own the game is because it's free on PS Plus.
That is also true. I'm not going to deny that. So. Yeah.
Whereas me and Darren bought it, I'm assuming. Yeah.
Suckers.
I bought it on I got it for my birthday on Xbox 360, but I bought it on PC since.
Yeah, I've got it on Xbox. I've had it on Xbox, PC, and PlayStation.
Yeah, I've got them all.
Yeah. Yeah, we're bros. We know.
I don't know why, but I have.
It's one of them where it's in the sale on Steam. You'll pick it up for cheap. Oh, I've already got it on the Xbox.
Yeah, I bought all 3 Bioshocks for like
same.
£6.
Same. So how about you, Laura? Did you do that? No, obviously not.
You know, I think you should just be happy I played it and finished it. And I think, you take your wins where you can, Squiggy. Basically.
That's what you've got to do as a Newcastle fan, Laura. That's what you've got to
do. And
do.
yet you're struggling with that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, good point. So anyway, I thought the first thing we may as well talk about is what you actually thought of the game. There's no point in starting this without having your opinion on it, so I don't know who wants to go first with it, just sort of what you thought overall of it.
What overall views of the experience?
Yeah, what you thought of the experience as a whole. Obviously, there's a few things we'll talk about in more depth later on, but yeah.
Overall, I was pleasantly surprised by how much I liked it. I was also very happy because we're going to speak about the other ones briefly later in their relation, aren't we? So I've got something to say there, but in terms of that, I was able to actually stop, not play this for a few weeks, and pick it up again without feeling confused and lost. Was a nice thing, I have to say. So, and I think the story was quite intriguing and dragged me through the game. So, yeah, that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, it's one of those games where it's quite linear as well. So you always know what you have to do. So you can sort of go away from it and come back and pick it up later. Whereas a lot of games now, they're so open world. You've got so many quests to do. If you leave it and come back, you get confused with what you've got to do.
You don't really know where you're going and what you do.
Yeah. And then you just kind of have the attitude that nope, I've got to give up or start again. I always vote for give up, to be fair.
I always start again, generally. Well, it depends how long in the game.
How's Dragon Age going?
Well, I never really
got
anywhere in that.
He's starting again.
Persona, I started again. I know that for a fact. I started again.
Carry on then.
Yeah, but Bioshock's one of those because I think I played it on the PC. It must have been 2 years ago, and I picked it up again just to start playing through it, and I knew exactly what I was doing and where I was, even though it was a few years after I'd done it. It's not a bad thing the story is so linear in this case because, as we'll talk about later on, the story is the main part of the game, so you need to be able to experience it all. But I don't know what you thought of the combat as well, because I know it's first person, but with obviously having the different abilities as well to do. I don't know if you
combat's all right. It's not the best for for a first person shooter. If you just want a first person shooter experience, it's not the best. It's a bit more clunky.
If the story was bad, and I probably wouldn't have been able to get through it like I did. Like I was playing it more, because it was a good story. Everything. The combat wasn't really selling. Me the game.
I think it gets better the more powers you get, though.
Oh yeah, there is that. Yeah. When you get when you just got the one power like melee.
Yeah,
it's a bit like
not so good.
Yeah, because the powers open up so many different ways to go about.
Yeah.
To go about things and stuff like that. I don't know about you, but I used to find loads of different ways. I know you've played it through a couple of times, and I've played it through twice. That even at the start, you can have I think it's 3 different powers you can have before you get into one of your major battles and stuff like that. And I just found it fun to try out different ways to go about doing it.
Yeah, and you can put different traps down and things like that. Yeah. So there's different ways to deal with every situation, really. And like the bits, like sometimes you'll know that there's enemies coming into a certain point. It'll be like set up your traps now, so you can sort of get a bit more tactical with what you do with your powers and whatnot.
What was your favourite power?
I don't really know. I liked the crow one.
Yeah.
That's mainly because it just allowed you to just get away from trouble as well as being able to kill things quickly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was gonna say I like the crow power, but that's because I like crows. Yeah, you don't see many
killer crows.
You don't see many games with killer crows. I actually just enjoyed the originality of it, to be honest. And because I was like, oh, it's gonna be a bit cliche with crows, but then when you see it in action, I just kind of started to enjoy killing people with crows. So.
Yeah.
And actually, bucking bronco, is it the one which lifts people up?
Yeah.
That one's really good.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the crows one. I used that a lot at the start, and to be honest, I carried on using it quite a lot through the game on my first playthrough, and then I started using the one where they turn them onto your side. But then the problem is though, if you turn a really strong enemy onto your side and it kills everyone, you've still got to kill that.
Yeah, and it turns around and looks at you like, oh.
Yeah, I found that one out the hard way. I think you'll probably see in the footage it's going to play while we're talking about this that I did exactly that, and then the thing turned around and just blew us up with one shot, and I was like, oh, great. Thanks, mate. Thought we're friends. But yeah, so Darren, I mean, Laura said what she thought of it. What did you think of it overall?
Overall, it's a good game, an enjoyable game. Obviously, I enjoyed it because I played it multiple times.
Yeah.
Yeah, the story was good. I've got some problems with the story, but they mostly come from the DLC. So, the game as a whole, the story is as a basis, just a base game is good story. But when you put the DLC, I have some small problems with it. But yeah, it's a good game. I recommend anyone who hasn't played it should definitely play it.
Yeah, no, I can't disagree with that. It was probably it is one of my favorite games. There's that and the original Bioshock are two of my favorite games, and it's just, I think it's more to do with the setting, the story, the fact that there's so many different ways to go about a linear game with all the different ways you can either set traps or go head on, and all the different abilities you've got, all the different guns you can pick up. And I mean, there are a few different ways you can go as well. And it's not linear. As in, go down this corridor. This, go through. You can go through this building this way, or go through a different way. But it's still.
Yeah, they'll give you different options, and like the skyline and things like that. You can get to different places.
Yeah, that's something else I wanted to talk about as well. The skyline. How did you enjoy sort of the roller coaster that was the skyline getting around Columbia, or did you find it a bit?
I think it's
a bit tiresome. If you get what I mean.
What, Squiggy?
a bit tiresome.
No, I thought it was good. It mainly on harder difficulties. Sometimes you just need to get out of where you are because you're just not in a good place, and the skyline can be a very good way of just getting out of the situation. It gives you time to reevaluate what's going on, find better ways to fight the enemies you are, and just to get around nice and quickly sometimes.
Yeah.
A fun addition.
Oh, it's a fun addition. Oh.
It's nice. It's good. It's fun.
Yeah.
You can't really. That's pretty much description of it. Really.
Yeah.
Can't disagree with that.
It adds sort of earlier on, it adds a little bit of a puzzle element to the game as well, where you can't get past this part because there's certain carriages in the way, so you've got to find a way to move them. It's not difficult, but it means you've got to drop off the skyline, but then you decide, do I want to drop off and kill this person? Do I want to drop off and kill the other person over there? Or should I shoot from here and kill this one and then drop off and kill them? It adds a little bit of a tactical element to it as well. I don't know if you found that.
I also with the I was gonna call it railing, but I don't think that's what you would call it. With I kind of kept going the wrong direction sometimes. I kind of went too fast and lost control, and I was a bit not great at that. I mean, I enjoyed it, if you know what I mean, and I was those guys who electrocute it, so you have to get off.
Oh yeah.
Handymen.
Yeah, I did like them.
Yeah, but they're more of a generally bigger problem than just electrocuting them.
Yeah, I know, but sometimes I was just having fun on the rails and they ruined it. It was like I was having a rail party and they just like no, which is a fun thing to do. Apparently, I found.
I'm just trying to have fun. Leave me alone.
I don't want to kill anyone.
I want to be your friend, guy with a big machine gun. But yeah, I don't know if you want to talk about. Do you want to talk about the DLC now, or do you want to save it for later on? It won't. Will it give anything away from the story? Because I've not played the DLC.
Well, the bits about the DLC I want to talk about will be mostly about the story.
All right, we'll save that. We'll save it for a bit later on then. So, another thing I wanted to bring up about playing this. I'm assuming both of you have played the original Bioshock as well.
Yep.
That's good. So
I've not finished it though, right?
Oh, that's bad.
Not... Oh.
But
I know the ending. I have my reasons for not finishing it. So.
Okay, I'll not ask. I'll let you have them. So,
oh no, it was just the fact that I left it unplayed for a while, then got lost and confused, which is why I enjoyed Bioshock Infinite.
Yeah.
And it was always one of my biggest I should have probably gone back and played it. But
fair enough. So anyway, I thought, because obviously these are both done by the same creative director, and they are both in the same game name, I thought we'd sort of compare Bioshock to Bioshock Infinite and just sort of see what you think comparing them both as well. Even the story, maybe not the setting, because we want to talk about the setting later on, but maybe, what do you think of the abilities, the plasmids and everything in Bioshock compared to them in Bioshock Infinite?
I think everything was better in Infinite. But, like I said, I didn't finish number one.
Everything is better in Infinite, mainly because in Bioshock 1, you're limited to either having a gun equipped or a plasmid equipped, which makes it really clumsy to play.
Yeah. I remember that way you could freeze freeze enemies, but then you had to change from your plasmid to your gun to then shoot the ice that had been frozen in. Whereas this one, you can if it was the same plasmids in theory, you could do it by basically pulling 2 triggers.
In the DLC, there is a freezing plasmid.
Oh, I need to play the DLC.
So yeah, you can do it.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know what you. I know obviously the opening to Bioshock is one of the most. It's one of those openings that really grabs you in. Obviously, the plane crash in the water. I don't know what you. Did you think anything of the Bioshock Infinite opening compared to the Bioshock opening? Did you feel as it was on such a bigger scale? If you know what I mean.
I get what you're saying. I actually didn't really think about it like that. I was more thinking, man, I skipped number 2, and yeah, I'm getting some. I know I'm getting some reminders of 1. Like, I don't know. I felt weird because obviously I skipped number 2, so I wasn't because when you told me it was for Games Club, I did get the impression that it was like completely different from the others. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So when it was like that, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure this is really familiar. I feel like I've been lied to. Like, I thought this was the beginning of a trap, to be honest. So yeah, that's just generally my only opinion on that. That I noticed.
Yeah, because I sort of drew the comparison where when you go in the bathysphere in Bioshock and you go through and you see Rapture out of the window of your bathysphere as you're going down, and then comparing it to when you take off from the lighthouse and then go up into Columbia, it's sort of it's like a comparison that, you know, one goes up, the other one goes down, and you're still sort of floating around and you see the whole environment you're going to basically interact with throughout the course of the game. And I think it's something that did really well in both Bioshock and Bioshock Infinite, because it sets up the setting. Yeah, it sets up the setting really well, where you can see pretty much everything that you need to see for the first couple hours that you play and everything. And you can see some sort of enemies in the distance, and you probably know that you're going to fight them at some point as well. I don't know what you thought, Darren. I don't know. You've played it 3 times.
Well, all that comes to mind when I think about the start is basically the end of the game. When I think of the start of the game, is how they. Now I'm going to talk a bit about the story, but they say that wherever there's always a man, there's always a lighthouse. So that's why there's always a similar. That's obviously the start of Bioshock 1. You get out of the water into a lighthouse and go underwater, but in Infinite you get off a boat into a lighthouse, go up in the sky. But obviously the first time when I played it, that was ages ago. I can't really remember, but I probably did just get the same sort of vibes as Bioshock and expecting the same, but not knowing quite how it was going to pan out.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it's an interesting way you sort of see things, but you don't know what's going to happen in those places, but you do know that you are going to experience that at some point in the game, which I think draws you in a little bit more. I don't know, compared to maybe some open world games where you don't know where you're going, you don't know why you're going there. Obviously, you don't know why you're going into Rapture or Columbia, but it's the stuff that you see that makes you want to sort of go further and further to say, oh, I remember seeing this place. I know what I'm doing. I know where this is, and everything like that. I don't know if any of you felt that or thought that during it.
I'm gonna be honest. That's not the thought that comes into my mind when playing Bioshock games. So, no, it isn't. I don't like that false confidence for you. I was just kind of like, I was just kind of just getting like, oh yeah, I'm familiar with Bioshock. Yeah, that's basically what I was going through.
Yeah. No, I get kind of what you're saying. This is with a different game, Far Cry Blood Dragon. I know it's only like a little small game, but you can't really see anything of the environment. There's a really bad draw distance on the PS3 game, but it basically makes me feel like the world's really empty, like there's nothing there. But with Bioshock, the way they show it off, you can see that there's a big world. You can see there's a lot to explore.
Yeah, that's
makes
what
you want to explore it. Yeah.
I'm glad someone agrees. I'm glad with that, because that's what I've always thought as well. That there's stuff out there to explore. The wilderness must be explored. I can fit my Disney quotes into here.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Yeah, so we'll move away from that we'll move on to Columbia as a setting itself. Obviously, Columbia is where the game takes place, apart from, save from a few little spots in the game. But what did you actually think of Columbia itself?
Beautiful, great concept, great idea, well executed. Yeah, I can't. I like I'd obviously like seen stuff, and I didn't buy it at launch because of the whole didn't even finish Bioshock 1, blah blah blah. But I'd had seen, you know, like screenshots when it was first revealed and all that. I thought, oh, that's pretty cool. So I was actually kind of happy that when I actually played it, it actually lived up to what it looked like, if that made sense. Like,
Yeah.
I'd seen a screenshot and it kind of looked really impressive, but you don't really know till you're, for lack of a better word, like immersed into that world or universe, how great it is, because it's the same way when, I'm sorry, Squiggy, to do this. Metal Gear Solid 5, you see screenshots, it looks massive. You've seen it in the trailer, still looks great. You actually play it and you're on it and you're like, yeah, this world sucks.
No, I know what you mean. Whereas Metal Gear
Columbia
Solid,
was just,
yeah,
yeah.
Columbia was sort of, it was really sort of well populated.
It wasn't just it wasn't just like it wasn't on the surface. Everything appears to be
Yeah.
stuff. It really felt well designed. Every
Yeah.
little detail was thought of, etc., etc. So
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with that. Darren, have you got anything to add about the setting?
I preferred Rapture first and foremost. I just preferred the underwaterness of it, but the whole concept of it, a technological city in the sky, is a good concept. Oops, sorry, I just dropped my phone. Ignore that. It's a good concept and an enjoyable. I'm trying to think of the word. Basically, the world felt lived in,
Yeah.
as opposed to some places where it just feels empty. Like I keep bringing it back to other games. I just keep comparing it to other games. That's the easiest way I find to do it. In Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, which was originally a PSP game, but on the HD remaster on PS3, the worlds just feel completely empty. There's nothing in them. The tech, it's just empty worlds. It just make me feel like I want to go back to the worlds. Whereas in Columbia, everything feels lived in. Everything feels like
ever changing, moving.
well, exactly, yeah,
Active.
yeah. And saying that, like the bits of the city, sometimes you can see them floating around, and parts of the level will move around in front of you, which makes it feel more active. And
Yeah, I
real.
noticed that as well. Yeah.
So yeah, it was a good place. I enjoyed Rapture more.
Yeah. No, I think I agree with you on that one. I think I did prefer Rapture to Columbia, but I don't know if that was because Rapture was my first experience, if that makes sense. Because
yeah, I wouldn't just say it was that, because
Yeah.
even though I didn't finish number 1, I was hyped for the demo and I did play a fair bit, enough to spend some time there. I think the level design, because it was like, I'm not saying closed in, because it wasn't really closed in, but you know what I mean. Like, it was, I think it was more atmospheric than Columbia.
yeah,
Like,
I think there was a lot more.
I think
But I
that's,
don't know if that's because it was underwater, which
Yeah, I
added
think
to
that's because you're
the
enclosed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
but it felt more. It added something to the game. I'd say Rapture, if you know what I mean. It was part of it. I think Columbia obviously was a good part of the game, but I just think the underwater sort of added tension, and I don't know. I think it brought something that maybe the story didn't get across necessarily, in my opinion. So.
yeah. No, I mean I really liked Columbia, all the different sort of locations, even the opening part where you go through and they're having the big raffle and everything. That just felt really populated, and it felt really alive and moving. Just being able to walk through with the people. I know it was sort of pretty scripted that you had to go to this certain point to carry it on, but even just being able to walk around and see all the different machines and actually take part in all the different things where you found out are there still plasmids in Infinite? They're not plasmids, are they? They're called something else, but I can't remember what they're called.
I completely cannot remember.
Yeah.
I'm not the person to ask.
But
I'm just happy to finish it.
Yeah, but like
just happy to be here.
Yeah. They're called. I'll find it. Vigor.
Yeah,
That's what it is. But it's where you go through to get to the raffle, and they've got all the different sort of what would be arcade games where you can try out a few different vigors. Instead of throwing balls to knock things down, you throw your fireballs to shoot the devil or something like that. And it felt really different, but it still felt really alive, and something that you might see apart from the shooting fireballs out your hand, something that you might see in in an actual place. If that makes sense, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, and then even some other places as well where you've got the upper class of Colombia. You know, the people fighting for white Americans and stuff like that. But then obviously you've got the poorer district in Colombia, where you've got sort of it's like a rundown town and everything.
I want to make a reference, but I don't know if either of you played the game, so I feel this might be wasted. But hopefully someone listening will know that it kind of reminded me of the poor sections of Dragon Age Origins. Like, it was just so well done because you got that instant feel as soon as you stepped in the area that, oh, this is the bad part. This is the part I wouldn't go in if it was real. This sort of thing. No?
No.
I played a bit of Dragon Age Origins, and I can see what you're getting at.
Yeah.
Sort of.
I
can't really comment on it too much
because you literally stopped after stepping in. You were like, yeah, you only got to the poor section.
You got the poor section. I'm not coming back here.
I'm done.
But yeah, I like sort of how you've got the two split sections where you've got the sort of the rundown place, and then you've got the rich district where you've got all the businesses and everything like that, which is quite. I think that's quite good. How it's sort of you've got the comparison and everything. Obviously, you go through it during the game, and you get to see both different parts of it, which I think is pretty cool. It's pretty well done. But again, I still think I do think I preferred Rapture. I think the setting of Rapture and how obviously you do this in Bioshock Infinite as well, where you pick up the audio tapes where you listen through to it. I just think it was so much better done. I think it was better done in Bioshock because of the setting where you got that feeling. I don't know if it was the feeling that you were alone, where you only everyone you knew could have been an enemy. You were alone in Bioshock, and I don't know if that was to do with the setting, which made it more. It just made it more sort of. It hit home a bit more, if that makes sense. Where you were walking through Rapture, you were picking up an audio log and listening to it, realizing that it wasn't a live place, and then you turn a corner. There's what you think is a woman pushing a buggy with a baby in it, and she actually turns around and comes for you with a gun. I'll never forget that. I will never forget that moment.
That.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
Whereas
because some of us don't pay attention fully, or used to not pay attention fully, and out of nowhere they're scared to shit.
Yeah. Whereas in Colombia felt like a real place, but it didn't. I don't know if it didn't drag us in as much as Rapture did because of the difference in how it was. I don't know if you felt that as well, Darren, because I know you preferred Rapture.
I think Rapture in the first Bioshock had a semi-horror type feel to it. And normally horror games, I know it's not a full horror game, but normally they do have better atmosphere to pull you into the game more. To sort of get
because the whole point of a horror game is to immerse you. Their number one aim is to do that.
Yeah. So that when the splicers actually do jump out of nowhere, you do get scared instead of just being like, oh, it's another splicer, oh, who cares?
Yeah, I think that was the only. Sorry, go on.
I don't feel like, because none of the enemies in Colombia, they're all just normal people.
Yeah.
There's nothing, you're not going to be scared of a normal person.
Yeah, I wouldn't count it as a horror game at all.
No, there's nothing. They're not trying to get that atmosphere in the game, so it sort of doesn't.
No,
it doesn't mean it's just worth noting that that's maybe why Bioshock's Rapture seems a bit better, because it is that's where the atmosphere bit comes in.
I think the other thing as well with comparing Rapture to Colombia is the big daddies in Rapture. They are quite creepy when you see them walking around.
I just wanted to say big then.
Well, and big. No, they are terrifying because they can kill you very quickly and very easily.
Yeah, I think.
And there's nothing like that in a. There's obviously the handymen, but you can see them come in. You can
see them come in, and they're not as difficult to kill, even though they've got a gun. But you know that you can just dodge around them. Whereas with the big daddies, you don't know if they're going to charge you or sort of just try and just run towards you basically, and you know that you can't just keep shooting them because they've got enough health to get through that. And I think as well with the big daddies in Rapture, sometimes they wouldn't attack you earlier on in the game, whereas
it's basically they'll just be walking around like normal, and if you come too close to them, they'll get a bit angry for a while, and then they'll attack you. At the start of the game. Plus, if splicers or whatever get too close to it, their big daddy will attack the splicers as well.
Yeah.
So it's sort of, yeah.
Whereas the handymen are sort of, they're just, to me,
They're
I
just
just
on the
class them as
bad
a,
guys team.
yeah, another enemy. That's what I just
Yeah.
classed them as. Yeah. Which didn't sort of add to the fear. Oh, I'm going to this room. Is there a big daddy here? Do I have to sort of scout it out and try and get around it? Oh,
Big
no,
Daddy
just,
was part of the world, whereas Handyman is just an enemy that you have to get past.
yeah, it's just like basically like a boss sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think we'll move away from the setting of Columbia, and we'll go on to what is probably going to be it'll be the last and probably the longest discussion point of this, the story. So
I'm happy I understood it, to be honest,
yeah,
because, like I said, I didn't finish number 1. I skipped number 2. I know this one was easy to play on the standalone, but I was still a bit like, well, I stopped playing it and I got really confused where I was at, so I was like, I'm a little bit concerned that you're going to make me go on a podcast and talk about a story I don't understand. So, but I was happy to say I understood it, I quite enjoyed it, and it hooked me. So
yeah,
I could ask for any more of it.
yeah. I think it's one of those stories where if you don't understand it, you haven't got a clue what's going on at all. Like you don't.
Yeah,
You
and
probably,
I would
you'll
call
probably
it the
think it's
metal.
rubbish.
I call it the Metal Gear Solid factor. Once again, I
Compared to
would
Metal
say
Gear
that.
Solid. Yeah, I think it's one of them where if you don't get the story, you probably at the end of the game you probably look around and think, what have I just played? What was the point of this? I don't understand who this
Where
is.
am-
What
where am I?
relevance this is? Yeah.
What universe am I in?
Yeah.
Is it parallel? Is it all the same?
But then if you don't understand the story, you probably don't understand that part.
Yeah,
But if you understand the story, then it makes the game a lot deeper than it actually is, just sort of on the surface. You can dig a lot deeper into it and everything. I don't know what you thought, Darren.
The story, it's a Bioshock game. There was going to be a twist in the end, obviously. Well, at least at some point in the game.
Yeah.
So you go through the story, just not basically what I was just going through the story expecting a twist near the end. So everything that happened, I was like, well, why is this happening? But basically, the twist was a good twist because I didn't see it coming at all.
No.
It was completely out of the
which
blue.
is the overall thing a twist should do.
Yeah, twist should do completely out of the blue. You shouldn't be able to be playing the game and be like, oh, well, this is obviously going to be the twist.
And then when you see the twist, you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Okay then. Yeah, because I had that with Life is Strange, and I was like, oh. Okay then. It was like, all build is gone. Carry on.
But yeah, the story in itself, it was good. It was up until the twist, it all made some sort of sense within itself. It's just you went to save a girl and got caught up in the whole politics of the world or whatever.
Yeah.
But then the twist adds a whole new layer onto what was going on in the world.
Yeah, the twist's one of them as well, where it sort of only happens in the last 25 minutes.
It happens in the
game?
last 20
Yeah.
minutes, which is basically a cutscene.
Yeah.
A long walking cutscene. Yeah.
So it's one of them where you could probably play the game for quite a while and not have a clue what's coming up and think it's just a generic rescue story, and then if you actually finish the game, you get to see this plot twist, and then I don't know. I think I really like it. It's one of the best stories I've played in a game because of the twist. But if you haven't managed to get yourself to that part, you probably just think, well, this is just a generic rescue mission, which means I'm stuck here, sort of thing. I don't know if you get what I mean by that.
Yeah, the story in itself, it's not the base story without the twist isn't the most exciting of stories. It's just about you saving a girl and then having to fight for one of the different sides of the place, Columbia. Yeah, having to fight for the different sides of Columbia. But then the twist adds a whole new layer of it. Obviously, I will talk about twist now, but so by the way, spoilers if you hadn't realised there'd be spoilers in this, by the way.
Hashtag spoilers.
It turns out that Booker DeWitt and I forgot his name now. Zachary Comstock are actually different versions of the same person. Whereas after a battle, about in the year 1901 or something like that, there's a battle of. I can't remember the name of the battles. The slight information is lost. I've lost it.
See,
but I know the basic.
The battle was earlier.
No, the battle was after the battle they went to get baptized.
Yeah.
To get rid of their sins, and in one that made a split off point in the universe, where one Booker DeWitt got baptized, turned into Comstock, and the other one didn't get baptized and turned into Booker DeWitt.
Yeah.
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 Which was
Yeah.
yeah. It gets very hard to explain in this short amount of time.
It really is like you understand it when you're nodding along, but then if you had to explain it to someone, it is one of those hard.
It's really hard to explain if you haven't actually played it, because then you see all those twins. They're also different versions of the same person,
Yeah.
and you see that they've actually been the ones who've orchestrated the whole thing, bringing you into this world to save Elizabeth and stop Comstock. And you also find out that Elizabeth is Booker DeWitt's daughter that Comstock stole.
Yeah.
Because he couldn't have children of his own.
And that's when it gets really weird.
That's when it gets
whole
really
time
weird.
because
it's...
the whole time they play it like a love angle.
No, I don't know. They do not play it as a love angle.
A couple of times I see it. I was seeing love. I was seeing love. But that might be me.
Half of the game, they hate. Well, not hated each Booker.
Yeah, but hate and love, they always do that little twist.
Hated Booker for half the game.
Yeah, that generally ends up in love in most movies.
Your stupid rom-coms, man.
None of these proper movies. Come on.
Not like Star Wars.
Oh yeah, because Han Solo and Princess Leia never hated each other. Yeah, carry on.
I forgot where I was. But basically, yeah, the story by itself. I keep saying by itself. I don't know why. It's because I'm trying to ignore the DLC at the moment. The story of the base game is good. It makes sense. But the problem I have is at the end, I understand what they're trying to do is you kill yourself to stop Comstock ever living, but I don't understand how killing yourself does that. Because
you've killed yourself in your...
You killed yourself in your...
Yeah.
Yeah, well, how does the other one... Unless... The way I can make sense of it is if that is the first point in all of the universes that there was ever been a split-off point. If that is the one first point that has ever been a split-off point, and by doing that it erases all other split-off points.
I think that's what I thought as well, and I'm assuming that's got to be...
That's what I thought, but then in the DLC...
Here we go,
there's one Comstock left, and you go as Elizabeth to kill Comstock. Which then gets rid of that being the one first splitting point, and getting rid of all Comstock. It now opens it up to, well, if one Comstock can survive, then infinite Comstocks can survive.
Because it's all the alternate universe where, well, what if he didn't die then, and then what if no one went and sort of thing, and it just opens it up so much.
It opens it up to not making any more sense, and that's what annoys me most about it.
It's one of those stories where it's good. There's still a few holes you can pick in it, but
giant holes.
They're giant holes. Yeah, I'm trying to be nice here, but it's weird. Like, because also the one thing that I don't get is how... I forgot what I was going to say now. So obviously you get baptized and then that destroys everything, but then when you wake up, where have you woken up? Have you woken up back to the starting point? Basically back as if you woke up when you got baptized, because obviously Elizabeth is now Anna and she's a baby. So where have you actually gone from there? That's the one part that I didn't really get with that, because surely...
I thought they were just trying to leave it open to interpretation and imagination, but then they did the DLC, so then and then I don't know where like what you could argue.
It's an interesting one, and obviously it's probably something that's open up for debate quite a lot. So if anyone does have any opinions on any theories, any opinions on the story, just leave a comment in the comments below, in the YouTube comments below, or tweet us as well at Retro Remastered, or comment on our article, which will go up on the website, which you'll all be able to see.
As we try to explain in words our feelings on the plot, as we've done so well.
Talking about it, yeah.
Yeah.
Has anyone got anything else they want to add about Bioshock Infinite?
I have to say I went in doubting Bioshock, come out loving Bioshock. So, well, Bioshock Infinite anyway. So, yeah, if you're having doubts, just throw them aside and get going.
Yeah, I think it's one of those games where you don't need to have played the original two, but then at the end you'll get confused when you appear. When you go to Rapture, you'll probably think, "Oh, what's this? What on earth is this?"
Well, I think because I played enough, that was probably help. But then even then, you might not get the nostalgia thing, but you'll get the this is somewhere different vibe. So
yeah,
fine.
that's what I mean. You might just think it's...
and you won't get. You go on, Squiggy.
No, go on.
You won't get to the point where Elizabeth's on about there being it's always a lighthouse, always a man, always whatever.
Well, to be fair, you can just take her word.
That bit won't make any sense.
You can take her word at face value.
Yeah, you take it at face value, but you won't be able to get the comparison.
No, you would be like, yeah, of course, all right, love, sure, yeah.
Yeah, whatever she's on about. She's mental. She can up splits in time. She's crazy.
Bad Elizabeth, yo.
But yeah, I think it's one of those games where you can't just jump in and play it, no matter what your level of Bioshock loving is. But obviously, like we said at the start, like Darren said, if you're expecting to come in and play a first-person shooter, you've probably picked the wrong game. If you're just after a generic FPS, then don't play Bioshock. But if you're after a game with an intriguing story, a sort of a mix of being able to use plasmids, whatever they're called, abilities and weapons together to sort of combine things. Figures, thank you. It's a perfect game. It's a perfect game, to be honest, where if you want to mix things up a little bit and you care more about story than anything else. Do you think we can agree on that?
Yeah. I think we can. There's no debate there, to be honest.
Perfect. So, the one last thing.
It's a good, enjoyable game. You don't have to...
Yeah. If you had to give it a rating now, out of 10.
Based on when we played it, right?
Based on when you played it, yeah. If you had to give a rating out of 10, what would you give it?
I say an 8.
An 8? Okay.
Yeah.
Darren?
I'd probably give it about an 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah, I was
Breaking
thinking...
out the 0.5s.
I was thinking between an 8 and a 9, because I think it's more of it's a 9 if you get to the end and understand the story, but it's an 8 if you don't have a clue what's going on. But it's an 8 because of how well it plays and the setting and everything that way.
I had to duck at least a point for the combat system not being...
Yeah, but I mean, it's one of them where if you have played the other two Bioshock games, you know it's an improvement over them. But if you haven't played it, basically if this is your first jump into a Bioshock game, then don't expect to tear up trees with the combat. Don't expect it to be brilliant. But yeah, I think we'll end our Games Club here for this month. Next month, or the next 2 months, we are playing Uncharted 2, which will be back probably before Uncharted 4 releases, especially if it gets delayed again. We'll definitely be back before Uncharted 4 releases with a chat about Uncharted 2. That was Mike's choice, I believe.
Mike's choice.
Yeah, so Mike will be your host for Games Club episode 3. I hope you've enjoyed Games
top
Club.
Choice.
A brilliant choice. Inspired choice, some would say, after picking Uncharted 1 first. Inspired. So yeah, this was episode 2 of the Retro Massive Games Club. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for listening.